The old photographs scattered across my dining room table told a story of happiness I barely recognized anymore. My daughter Emma traced her tiny finger across one showing my grandfather at his 70th birthday party, his silver hair gleaming under party lights. "Was that before I was born, Mommy?" she asked, her dark curls falling forward as she leaned in closer. "Yes, baby, that was about 6 years ago. I'm Lacey, and until recently, I thought I understood what family meant." The front door clicked open, and my husband Julio's voice drifted in from the foyer, followed by my Aunt Caroline's distinctive laugh. I hadn't expected them back so soon from the lawyer's office. Emma bounced up to greet them, but something in their hushed tones made me pause. "We need to be careful," Caroline whispered. "If she finds out about the changes to the will—" "She won't," Julio cut in. "The original document is gone. There's nothing to—" He stopped abruptly as Emma rounded the corner. "Daddy!" she squealed, launching herself into his arms. I remained frozen at the dining room table, my hand gripping the edge until my knuckles turned white. The photograph suddenly felt like evidence of a crime I hadn't known was being committed. "Lacey," Caroline called out. "Are you home?" I cleared my throat. "In here." My voice sounded steadier than I felt. They appeared in the doorway, all smiles and casual poses. Caroline's designer handbag swung from her arm as she approached to kiss my cheek. "Just wrapping up some tedious legal matters, dear. Nothing to worry about." "Really?" I met her eyes. "Nothing about Grandpa's will?" A flicker of something, fear, crossed her face before she composed herself. "Just routine updates. You know how these things are." "Actually, I don't." I stood up slowly. "Because I thought I was supposed to be included in those meetings." Julio stepped forward, his charm switching on like a light. "Mi amor, it's boring legal stuff. We didn't want to waste your time." "Emma, sweetie," I called out, not taking my eyes off them. "Go play in your room for a bit." Once Emma's footsteps faded upstairs, I pulled out my phone. Funny thing, I was looking through some old papers earlier, and I found this. I held up a photo of a document. It's dated 3 months before Grandpa died. Looks like his signature, outlining Emma's trust fund. The color drained from Caroline's face. Julio's jaw tightened. "The trust fund you told me never existed," I continued. "The one that was supposed to pay for Emma's education. Where is it, Caroline?" "Now, Lacey," she started, holding up her manicured hands. "You're jumping to conclusions. Am I?" My voice cracked. "Because I just got off the phone with the bank. The account was emptied 2 weeks after his funeral. Both your signatures are on the withdrawal forms." Julio stepped toward me, but I backed away. "We can explain," he said. "Explain what? How you stole my daughter's future?" The rage building inside me was unlike anything I'd ever felt. "How long have you been planning this? Was any of it real?" Caroline's face hardened. "Your grandfather was old-fashioned. He never understood modern investment strategies. We're protecting that money, making it work harder." "Stop lying." I slammed my hand on the table, making the photographs jump. "I trusted you, both of you. You were family." "We are family," Julio insisted, reaching for me. I jerked away from his touch. "Family doesn't steal from children. Get out, both of you." "Don't be dramatic," Caroline scoffed. "You're making a scene over nothing." "Get out." My voice was ice. "And tell your lawyer to expect a call, because this is just the beginning." They left, but not before Caroline paused in the doorway. "Be careful, Lacey. You might not like what you find if you start digging." It wasn't a warning. It was a threat. And as I stood there, surrounded by smiling faces in old photographs, I made a promise to myself and to Emma. They wouldn't get away with this. Not this time. Not ever. Grandpa's study still smelled like his pipe tobacco. even though it had been months since he'd sat in the worn leather chair behind his mahogany desk. I ran my fingers along the empty bookshelves, remembering how he used to lift me up to reach the top ones when I was Emma's age. My phone buzzed, another missed call from Julio. I deleted it without listening to the voicemail. "You can't hide in here forever," Greta said from the doorway, holding 2 cups of coffee. My best friend had rushed over the moment I called her about yesterday's confrontation. "I'm not hiding, I'm thinking." I accepted the coffee, grateful for its warmth. There has to be more evidence somewhere. Grandpa was meticulous about everything. "What about his computer?" I shook my head. Caroline had it cleaned right after the funeral. Said it was too painful to see his files. "Convenient," Greta muttered. A knock at the front door made us both jump. Through the window, I spotted Julio's car in the driveway. "I'll get rid of him," Greta offered, but I stopped her. "No, it's time I heard whatever lies he's prepared." Julio stood on the porch, holding Emma's favorite stuffed rabbit. "She left this at home," he said, trying to step inside. I blocked the doorway. "You mean at your apartment? The one you moved to after I kicked you out yesterday?" "Lacey, please, let me explain." "Fine. Explain why you stole from our daughter." He ran his hands through his hair, a gesture I once found endearing. "The money isn't gone. We invested it." "Where? Show me the paperwork." "It's complicated." That's what I thought. I started to close the door, but he caught it. "What about Emma? She needs her father." "She needs someone she can trust. That's not you anymore." His face darkened. "You're making a mistake. Caroline has connections." "Is that a threat?" "It's a reality check. You're going up against people with resources." "No," I corrected him. "I'm going up against thieves who happen to be family. There's a difference." He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Think about what you're doing. Once you start this, there's no going back. You should have thought about that before you stole from your own daughter." I slammed the door in his face, my hands shaking as I turned the lock. Greta appeared beside me. "You okay?" "No." I pressed my forehead against the cool wood. "But I will be. I need to call Noelle." "Your lawyer friend?" "Yeah, she owes my family a favor. Her firm handled Grandpa's estate planning for years before Caroline convinced him to switch." I pulled out my phone and dialed. Noelle answered on the second ring. "Lacey, I was just thinking about you." "I need help, Noelle. It's about Grandpa's will." A pause. "Come to my office, now. There's something you should see." "What is it?" "Not over the phone. But Lacey, bring any documents you have. Everything." An hour later, I sat in Noelle's office, watching her face as she reviewed the photo of the trust document I'd found. "This changes everything," she said finally, looking up. "Where did you find this?" "In an old photo album. Caroline must have missed it during her cleaning." Noelle leaned forward. "Lacey, this isn't just about the trust fund anymore. I've been doing some digging since your grandfather switched firms. The patterns I'm seeing, this goes deeper than you know." My stomach clenched. "How deep?" "Deep enough that Caroline should be very worried about what happens next." Noelle pulled out a thick file. "Are you ready to fight?" I thought of Emma, of Grandpa, of every fake smile Caroline and Julio had given me while they plotted behind my back. I'm ready to win. The bedside clock read 3:17 a.m. when my phone lit up with a text from Noelle. "Check your email, now." I fumbled for my laptop, trying not to wake Emma, who had crawled into my bed after another nightmare about her dad leaving. The screen's glow illuminated her peaceful face as I opened my inbox. "Oh my God," I whispered, scanning the documents Noelle had sent. My fingers trembled as I dialed her number. She answered immediately. "You're seeing this?" she asked without preamble. "Bank transfers to offshore accounts, property deeds, shell companies." I scrolled through page after page. How did you get these? Remember that clerk I mentioned? The one who worked at your grandfather's bank? He came through. Caroline and Julio weren't just stealing Emma's trust fund. They've been siphoning money from your grandfather's accounts for years. My throat tightened. Before he died? Way before. The earliest transfer I found was dated 3 years ago, right around when Caroline convinced him to switch law firms. A sound escaped me, half laugh, half sob. She planned this, all of it. The new lawyers, the changed will, everything. There's more, Noelle said. Check the last attachment. I clicked it open and froze. It was a medical report from my grandfather's last hospital stay. His medication levels, Noelle explained quietly. They were off, way off. The room started spinning. Are you saying? I'm saying we need to meet. First thing tomorrow. Bring Emma to Greta's and come to my office. Morning found me in Noelle's corner office, watching rain streak down the windows while she laid out papers across her desk. They created a complex web, she explained, pointing to a diagram. Money moved through multiple accounts, always ending up here. She tapped a box labeled Caribbean Holdings Lahonati. How much? Nearly 2 million, not counting Emma's trust fund. A knock interrupted us. Noelle's assistant poked her head in. Sorry, but there's someone here insisting on seeing Lacey. Says his name is Rylan? I don't know any Rylan, I started, but a man stepped past the assistant into the office. I worked at your grandfather's bank, he said quickly. In compliance. I've been trying to reach you. Noelle moved to call security, but I held up my hand. Something in his expression made me pause. Why? Because I flagged those transfers months ago, but Caroline had them buried. Your grandfather was a good man. He didn't deserve what they did to him. I studied him, early 30s, honest face, nervous energy. What exactly did they do to him? They isolated him, changed his medication schedule, created confusion about his finances until he didn't trust his own judgment anymore. Rylan pulled out a USB drive. I kept copies of everything, including security footage of Caroline accessing his safety deposit box the day before he died. My hands clenched into fists. The original will. Among other things, he set the drive on Noelle's desk. I should have come forward sooner, but they threatened my job, my family. I'm sorry. Why now? Because yesterday, Caroline started liquidating accounts. Big ones. She's planning something, and it's happening soon. Noelle grabbed her phone. I'm calling Judge Martinez. We need an emergency injunction before. My phone buzzed. A text from Greta. Caroline just showed up at my house. She's demanding to see Emma. No, I breathed, already running for the door. No, no, no. Lacey, wait, Rylan called after me. There's something else you need to know about Julio. But I was already gone, praying I wasn't too late to stop whatever Caroline had planned next. I broke every speed limit getting to Greta's house, my heart pounding with each unanswered call to her phone. When I pulled up, Caroline's Mercedes was already gone, but Julio's car sat in the driveway. Greta met me at the door, Emma clinging to her leg. I'm so sorry, she started. He had custody papers. Mommy! Emma ran into my arms. I held her tight, checking for any signs of distress. Where is he? I demanded. Study. Greta's voice was tight. Rylan's in there too. He got here right before you did. I handed Emma back to Greta. Keep her here. The scene in the study stopped me cold. Julio sat in an armchair, holding an ice pack to his jaw. Rylan stood by the window, his knuckles bruised. What happened? Your friend here, Julio spat, assaulted me when I tried to take my daughter. After you shoved Greta, Rylan countered. Those custody papers, forged. I turned to Julio. You tried to kidnap our daughter? It's not kidnapping when it's your child. He lowered the ice pack, revealing a darkening bruise. Caroline said, Caroline said what? That you could steal her like you stole her future? You don't understand. Caroline has evidence that could destroy everyone, including your precious grandfather's reputation. Rylan stepped forward. You mean the evidence she fabricated? We have proof of that too. Julio's face went slack. What proof? Everything, I said. The transfers, the medication changes, the security footage. We know what you did to my grandfather. Lacey. He stood up, reaching for me. Baby, please. They forced me. Caroline said if I didn't help, save it. I backed away. The police are already on their way. Noel filed charges 20 minutes ago. His expression hardened. Then you should know something. Check your grandfather's old safe, the one behind his portrait in the study. The combination is Emma's birthday. I already found it. I pulled out my phone and showed him the photo I'd taken that morning. You mean this letter, where he suspected Caroline was stealing and planned to change his will back? The color drained from his face. Yeah, I continued. The one dated the day before he died, the day Caroline visited him in the hospital. Ring any bells? You don't want to do this, he warned. Think about Emma. I am thinking about Emma. I'm thinking about how she deserves to know her grandfather was murdered. He lunged forward, but Rylan caught him, slamming him against the wall. Let me go, Julio struggled. You're ruining everything. No, I said quietly. You and Caroline did that all on your own. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. Last chance, I offered. Tell me where Caroline's going with the money, and maybe, I'll ask them to go easier on you. Julio sagged in Ryland's grip. The Caymans. She has a house there under a different name. She's leaving tonight. I texted the information to Noelle as police cars pulled up outside. Mommy? Emma's small voice came from the doorway. Are they taking Daddy away? I turned to find her watching, wide-eyed, as officers entered the room. Greta stood behind her, mouthing, I'm sorry. Kneeling down to Emma's level, I took her hands in mine. Remember how we talked about doing the right thing, even when it's hard? She nodded. Sometimes people we love make bad choices, and when they do, they have to face the consequences. Like a timeout? Something like that. I hugged her close as they led Julio away in handcuffs. Rylan touched my shoulder gently. Noelle just texted. They've frozen Caroline's accounts. She's not going anywhere. I watched the police cars pull away, Emma's face buried in my neck. One battle won, but the war wasn't over. Caroline was still out there, and she had nothing left to lose. Neither did I. You've made a terrible mistake. Caroline's voice echoed through my grandfather's empty house. She stood in the foyer, still elegant despite the dark circles under her eyes. But it's not too late to fix this. The only mistake was trusting you. I kept the kitchen island between us, my phone recording in my pocket. How did you get in? She held up a key. I still own half this house, dear. Or did you forget that detail in your crusade for justice? You mean your murder investigation? Such an ugly word. She traced a finger along the marble countertop. Your grandfather was old, sick. His death was a tragedy, but natural. Like the natural way his medication doses changed, or the natural way you emptied his accounts. Her smile turned cold. You sound just like him, always so concerned about doing the right thing. Look where that got him. My hand tightened on the knife block behind me. Why are you here? To make you an offer. Drop the charges against Julio. Stop the investigation. In return, I'll make sure Emma's trust fund is restored. Double the original amount. With what money? Your accounts are frozen. She laughed. Oh, sweetheart. You think those were my only accounts? I've been planning this longer than you've been alive. Planning to steal from your own family? Planning to take what I deserved. Her composure cracked. 40 years I managed his business, his life. Then you came along, his precious granddaughter, and suddenly everything was for Lacey's future. A key turned in the front door. We both turned as Rylan walked in, stopping short at the scene. Perfect timing, Caroline purred. Your new boyfriend should hear this too. Tell her, Rylan. Tell her who really helped me access those accounts in the first place. My breath caught. What is she talking about? Rylan stepped forward, his face pale. Lacey, I can explain. He was my inside man at the bank, Caroline said, until his conscience got the better of him. Isn't that right, Rylan? I didn't know about the murder, he said quickly. When I realized what she was planning, save it, I backed away from both of them. You knew this whole time? I tried to stop it. That's why I came forward. After the fact. I yanked my phone out, stopping the recording. Both of you, get out. Think about my offer, Caroline said, moving toward the door. You have until tomorrow night. After that, certain documents might find their way to the press. Documents about your grandfather's questionable business practices. You mean the forgeries you created? Already turned those over to the FBI. Her smile faltered. You're bluffing. Check your phone. She pulled it out, face darkening as she read. This isn't possible. The FBI takes elder abuse and murder pretty seriously. They're probably at your house right now. As if on cue, her phone rang. She answered, listened, then hung up with shaking hands. What have you done? Exactly what you taught me. I planned ahead. She lunged for me, but Rylan caught her arm. She whirled on him instead. You traitor, after everything I did for you. That's enough. Noelle's voice cut through the chaos. She stood in the doorway, two FBI agents behind her. Carolyn, I believe these gentlemen have some questions for you. I watched them lead her away, her threats echoing through the house. Rylan tried to speak, but I held up my hand. Don't, just don't. I was going to tell you everything. When? After we trusted you? After Emma started to like you? He flinched. I'm not the enemy here. No, I agreed, but you're not the hero either. Get out. After he left, Noelle touched my arm. You okay? I looked around the empty house, remembering happier times. No, but Caroline was right about one thing. What's that? I am just like my grandfather, and I'm not done fighting yet. Rain pounded against the windows of Noelle's office as I stared at the document in front of me. This can't be legal. It's not, she admitted, leaning back in her chair. But it might be necessary. Fabricating evidence? I pushed the paper away. We'd be no better than them. Sometimes you have to fight fire with fire. She pulled out another file. Caroline's lawyers are good. They're already spinning the medication changes as hospital error. But we have Ryland's testimony, which they'll discredit. He admitted to helping her initially. They'll paint him as a disgruntled employee trying to save himself. Lightning flashed outside, followed by thunder that made the windows rattle. My phone buzzed with a text from Greta. Emma asking about visiting Julio in jail again. What should I say? I ignored it, focusing on Noelle. There has to be another way. There is. A new voice made us both jump. Rylan stood in the doorway, soaking wet. Sorry, your assistant was gone. You shouldn't be here, I started, but he cut me off. I found something, an old security footage from the bank. He pulled out a USB drive. Caroline made a mistake 3 years ago. She used her own key card to access the vault after hours. Noelle sat forward. The night the original will disappeared? No, the night she created the fake one. He connected the drive to her computer. Watch. The grainy footage showed Caroline entering the vault with a man I didn't recognize. That's Marcus, Noelle breathed. Her old law partner, the one who died in that boating accident 2 weeks after this footage, Rylan finished. The accident that was never properly investigated. My hands started shaking. You think she killed him too? I think he threatened to expose her, just like your grandfather was going to. Noelle was already dialing. We need to get this to the DA immediately. Wait, I held up my hand. What if we didn't? Not yet. They both stared at me. Caroline doesn't know about this footage. She thinks she covered all her tracks. Understanding dawned in Noelle's eyes. You want to trap her. She's still hiding something. The way she threatened me about those documents, there's more we don't know. It's risky, Rylan warned. If she figures out we're bluffing, then we better not bluff. I turned to Noelle. How long until her bail hearing? Tomorrow morning. Good, because I have a plan, but I'll need both of you to trust me. Rylan stepped closer. After what I did, I understand if you don't want my help. I don't trust you, I said bluntly. But right now, I need you. The question is, how far are you willing to go to make this right? Whatever it takes, even if it means putting yourself at risk? He nodded without hesitation. Good. I pulled out my phone and dialed Caroline's number. She answered on the first ring. Changed your mind about my offer? Actually, I have a counter-proposal. Meet me at Grandpa's house, tonight, alone. Why should I? Because I found Marcus's letter. The line went silent. When she spoke again, her voice was tight. What letter? The one he wrote the night before his accident. Come alone, or it goes straight to the FBI. She hung up. There was no letter, Rylan said slowly. Was there? No. I grabbed my coat. But she doesn't know that, and now we know there should have been one. This is dangerous, Noelle warned. If she's really killed twice, then we better make sure we get her confession on record. I headed for the door. Coming? They exchanged looks, then followed me into the storm. By morning, either Caroline would finally face justice, or I'd have made the biggest mistake of my life. Either way, there was no turning back now. The courtroom fell silent as Caroline took the stand. She'd traded her designer clothes for a conservative gray suit, playing the role of grieving sister-in-law perfectly. Ms. Walsh, her lawyer began, could you describe your relationship with your late brother? We were very close. Caroline dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. After he died, I promised to look after his family, especially Lacey and Emma. I gripped the edge of my seat. Noelle squeezed my hand, whispering, wait for it. And the financial discrepancies in question? Simple misunderstandings, Caroline sighed. My brother's illness made him confused near the end. He made changes to his will, then forgot about them. Objection, Noelle stood. The witness is speculating about the deceased's state of mind. Sustained. Caroline's lawyer adjusted his approach. Let's discuss the night of March 15th, 3 years ago. My heart raced. The night from the security footage. I was home, Caroline said smoothly. I remember because it was my anniversary. Noelle approached the bench. Your Honor, I'd like to present new evidence. The judge nodded, and the courtroom screen flickered to life. The security footage played, showing Caroline and Marcus entering the vault. Would you like to revise your statement? Noelle asked. Caroline's composure cracked slightly. That could be anyone. We have the keycard logs and Marcus's letter. What letter? Caroline snapped, then caught herself. I don't know what you're talking about. The letter Marcus wrote the night before his accident, the one where he detailed your plan to forge documents and eliminate anyone who stood in your way. That's a lie. He never wrote any letter. Caroline stood up, face flushed. I made sure of that when She stopped, horror spreading across her features. When you what, Carolyn? Noelle pressed. I want my lawyer, she whispered. Too late. Noelle played another recording, Caroline's voice from my grandfather's house. 40 years I managed his business, his life. I deserved it. The courtroom erupted. Caroline lunged across the stand toward me, but bailiffs caught her arms. You little bitch, she screamed. I should have dealt with you like I dealt with Marcus, like your grandfather. Get her out of here, the judge ordered. As they dragged Caroline away, her lawyer stood. Your Honor, I move for a mistrial. This evidence wasn't properly submitted. Actually, the FBI agent in the back stood up. It was, all part of an ongoing federal investigation into multiple homicides. Caroline's face went ghost white. No, you can't prove anything. We already have, Ms. Walsh. Your former partner, Julio, has been very cooperative. She collapsed in the bailiff's grip, all pretense gone. He promised he wouldn't tell. He promised. The judge's gavel cracked through the chaos. Order, in light of these developments, we'll recess until tomorrow. Ms. Walsh will remain in custody. Outside the courtroom, Noelle hugged me tight. We did it. Not yet, I reminded her. There's still the federal case, which is airtight thanks to you. Rylan approached cautiously. The FBI said your recordings were crucial. I studied him for a moment. Thank you for helping, even after I shut you out. I had a lot to make up for. He shifted uncomfortably. I should go. The FBI needs my formal statement. Wait. I caught his arm. Emma asked about you yesterday. Maybe you could come by sometime. Start fresh. A small smile crossed his face. I'd like that. As he walked away, Noelle nudged me. You know this isn't over yet. Caroline's lawyers will appeal. Let them. I watched through the window as Caroline was led to a police car. We have the truth now. That's all that matters. Speaking of truth, Noelle grinned. There never was a letter from Marcus, was there? No, I smiled back. But sometimes you have to bluff to reveal a better hand. Your grandfather would be proud. I know. I touched the locket holding his picture. He taught me well. Higher, Mommy, Emma squealed as I pushed her on Grandpa's old garden swing. The autumn breeze carried the scent of late roses, his favorite flowers still blooming despite everything that had changed. My phone buzzed. Noelle's message was simple. It's done. Life without parole. Why are you smiling? Rylan asked, approaching with 2 cups of coffee. He'd been helping me restore the garden every weekend since the trial. Caroline's federal sentencing just came through. I caught Emma's swing, steadying her. Baby, why don't you go see if Greta needs help with those cookies? Once Emma was inside, I showed Rylan the message. How does it feel? He asked, handing me a coffee. Honestly, empty. Winning doesn't bring Grandpa back. No, but it honors him and protects Emma's future. The sound of laughter drifted from the kitchen. Emma and Greta were singing some silly baking song they'd made up. Speaking of futures, I said, Julio's lawyer called this morning. He's agreed to terminate his parental rights in exchange for a reduced sentence. Rylan's hand found mine. Are you okay with that? Emma hasn't asked to visit him in months. I think she understands, in her own way. She's strong, like her mother. The back door creaked open. Mom, Emma called out. We made Grandpa's special cookies, the ones with the orange stuff. Orange zest, I corrected, following her inside. The kitchen was a disaster of flour and sticky fingerprints, but the smell of citrus and vanilla brought back a flood of memories. Look what I found in the recipe box. Greta held up a yellowed envelope. It was stuck between pages. My hands trembled as I opened it. Inside was a letter, written in my grandfather's familiar scrawl. My dearest Lacey, if you're reading this, you've probably discovered what Caroline has done. Don't blame yourself. I knew she was stealing, but I couldn't prove it without putting you and Emma at risk. So I left breadcrumbs instead. The trust fund documentation, the bank records, all of it. I knew you'd find them when the time was right. You were always smarter than anyone gave you credit for. Stronger, too. Remember what I taught you. Justice isn't about revenge. It's about setting things right. Take care of Emma. And when she's older, teach her to make these cookies. Tell her about the grandfather who loved her enough to protect her future, even when he couldn't protect his own. All my love, Grandpa. Mom? Emma tugged at my shirt. Why are you crying? I wiped my eyes, pulling her close. Because sometimes happy memories make us cry too. Can we hang Grandpa's picture in the kitchen so he can watch us bake? That's a perfect idea. As Emma and Greta arranged cookies on a plate, Rylan helped me hang the photograph. My favorite one of Grandpa in his garden, surrounded by roses. You know, Rylan said softly, he'd be proud of how you handled everything. Not just the legal battle, but how you protected Emma through it all. We protected her, I corrected, looking around at the people who'd stood by us. All of us. Cookie time, Emma announced, presenting us each with a slightly misshapen orange cookie. We gathered around the kitchen table, sharing stories and laughter, the afternoon sun streaming through windows that no longer held shadows of betrayal. Emma's trust fund was restored, Caroline and Julio were facing justice, and somehow, through it all, we'd built something new from the ashes of what was lost. To Grandpa, I raised my cookie in a toast. To Grandpa, Emma giggled, crumbs falling everywhere. And somewhere, I knew, he was smiling.